It was exactly 1 year ago when Republicans were holding their presidential convention in the summer of 2024, and almost every single speaker that came up to that stage, every political ad that they ran, said that inflation is killing American families. Every conservative media outlet every day was inflation, 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 and this was when inflation was just a little over 2%. I mean, here's what some of these Republicans said at the convention a year ago when inflation was lower than it is right now. American families have been crushed by inflation, said former Michigan Representative Mike Rogers. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin said that it's the silent creep of inflation unleashed by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Trump declared during the debate with Biden, inflation is killing our country. It is absolutely killing us. I gave him a great country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do was leave it alone. He destroyed it. Republican Senator Tim Scott at the convention, on the Senate floor said, Americans across the country point their fingers at the devastation of inflation. And again, inflation at the time was just a little over 2%, like 2.1 or 2.2. Thanks to the data from the federal government that we got this week, inflation right now is 2.7%. So inflation at the moment is higher than it was when Republicans were whining and crying and pissing and moaning about how horrible inflation is under Biden. Americans can't afford things, right? The cost of eggs became a huge campaign issue. And then inflation started going down. And went down, down, down between the convention and the election, went down, down, down till Donald Trump took over. Then it kind of stayed flat. Still not great, still not exactly where we wanted it, but it wasn't rising until now. Month over month, we now have a rise in inflation of 2.7%. When you take out food and gasoline, it's 2.9%, which is even worse, obviously, than 2.7. So you would think with inflation going up, consumer prices going up, they were mad at 2%, they got to be pissed off at 2.9%, right? Well, no, of course not. Because when inflation goes up on their watch, that's somehow like a good thing. So these same Republicans that got on that stage a year ago telling us inflation is going to kill you are now saying, hey, look at how good Trump's done on inflation. This is super great. You guys should be very grateful to him. Even Trump himself got on Truth Social and said, consumer prices low. Bring the Fed rate now. Bring down the Fed rate now. No, if we drop interest rates right now, we will be in a period of hyperinflation. That's why Powell has ignored Donald Trump, and that's what Powell did during the Biden years that actually prevented us from going into a recession. I'm not the biggest fan of Jerome Powell, but he did the right thing. He does seem to know what he's doing, unlike everybody in the Trump administration. So I'm going to trust Powell on this issue instead of Trump, but Trump's also lying his face off again. Prices are down. No, they're not. They're literally not. And anybody who spends any money on anything knows that. But here he is telling you, deny reality. Live in my fantasy land. Well, we can't do that. That's not actually an option for us. We have to live in the real world where inflation is going up. And according to the economists that have looked at it, it is all 100% because of Donald Trump's ass-backwards economic policies. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. We got fresh content every day for you. And if you want to follow us across social media, make sure you check out all of the social links that we have posted in the description of this video.